This is the Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Brueski.
Featuring defense attorney, Hidden Killers daily contributor, and host of the Defense Diaries podcast, Bob Motta.
The investigation continues into LISK and Rex Heuermann being accused of being the Long Island serial killer, the Gilgo Beach murderer. One of the key people in this case has resigned very quickly out of nowhere. Very much a surprise to all of us. Suffolk County Police Commissioner Rodney Harrison saying, I'm out after about 2 years on the job. Now, of course, there's the nightmares of the previous police chief and everything that went along with him and all of his charges and accusations of just being a crooked, horrible human being. But now we had someone who was really taking the reins here, who was really making some progress in this case. Bob Motta, defense attorney, joining us, host of the Defense Diaries podcast. Am I going too far down a road of saying this seems a little bit odd that as this investigation continues into Heuermann, the first thing that came to my mind was, are you getting too close to something far bigger than even Rex Heuermann? Maybe you do want to step back. I don't know, for your own good. I'm kind of getting into like Sopranos type territory here. I don't know, but it just seems a little odd.
It does. And ironically, a friend of mine who's a former NYPD homicide detective, Joe Jackalone, had Rodney Harrison on his YouTube channel 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
And interviewed him. Mm-hmm. And he was, at that point, we're moving forward. We're leaving no stone unturned, like no indication whatsoever. And this is literally days before he ends up resigning. Yeah. Like kind of out of the blue, like no indication whatsoever that there was some storm a brewing. So when that broke, I was like, wow. I was like, I literally was just, because this was like an hour-long interview, 40 minutes, and Joe was getting into all kinds of stuff with them. And I'm like, I was applauding him. Like, you did a great job there, Commissioner, and, with amazing work here. And then this happens, and, we have to harken back to Burke, and everything that was going on there. And we have to wonder if somehow they're connected. It's like, it's obviously speculation, but sometimes when there's smoke, there's fire. And, for him to just like leave like this,
it's very
without really giving an explanation as to why, that really made any sense, especially in light of the fact that he had just done this interview, like that wasn't for the media, that wasn't a prepared statement, that was really him just being pretty open and candid, talking about the investigation as much as he could, and no sign of that, for it to happen so suddenly is super, super suspicious, man. Yeah.
It is very bizarre. Considering, he's been there for, everything to do with this case since he's taken over. I know just a few weeks ago, there was another press conference with the attorney for some of the victims. His name escapes me. He wears John Ray, the fancy hat man. He's been on the show before, but he was standing next to John Ray when John Ray was making his accusations as well. Yep. So he's been there. He's been the face of this, and he's been very confident, and we're going to go forward. We got this. I'm here. Yeah. The issues of the past are no more. But you go back and you start looking, obviously they needed to do some cleaning of house, but from the top down in 2 years, I would imagine, Rodney Harrison probably couldn't get all that done in 2 years. There's still going to be little pieces here and there that maybe have some hints of corruption to them, which would be expected. But again, it's just, did he get too close to something? Did he? Right.
That's the only thing, that's where your brain has to go, because like the goodwill from orchestrating this bust, this huge case being solved, like the goodwill of that outweighs anything. Like what you're talking about, all the other housekeeping that may have needed to take place. You're going to get some grace there because you just got this massive career building bust. You know what I mean? And you're the head of it. Like you're the face. Like you said, he was the face of it. Yeah. And so like, it can't be those little things. It's got to be something else. And there's all kinds of stuff floating out there, all kinds of stuff that goes to higher levels that involve, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
especially,
it's like,
when we're talking about prostitution and things of that nature, when we look back at some of the accusations against Heuermann that we heard from John Ray the other week, there was accusations of officers being involved in the sex parties at Heuermann's house, which there's a ton of questions that we have about that now, if in fact those allegations are true. So
yeah.
who else has been involved? I mean, it's not like hasn't been shady, weird sex practices of those in high power in this area of the country before. I mean,
That's for certain.
This is not
or like all over the country.
Or anywhere, really. Yes. I mean,
yeah.
it's just we happen
Yeah,
to
I mean, it seems to be that, there's this concept that money and power, you do some weird stuff with all that power and money, in terms of sex parties and, just things that are obviously illegal. And, I think there's that kind of air of invincibility that you get when you got that kind of power and money to where you think you're above the law, so to speak. And then if something happens where chickens come home to roost, and people start losing jobs or worse, disappearing or committing suicide, I mean, it's like all of it just, and again, with the lack of transparency, like with anything, all that does is lead to speculation. Mm-hmm. It gets it's like you and me. All we can do is sit here and wonder. Well, like where there's smoke, there's fire. What's really going on here? You know what I mean? It's like we're not out of line thinking it. No, I'll tell you that. And you know what I'm saying? It's like
so many cases, reality has been stranger than fiction, and that's why I'm wondering if that has something going on in this case. One other thing on Rex Heuermann that's been a development is gun charges. He had many weapons, many of them unregistered, apparently, and it's been ruled that, they're going to keep them. They're not going back to Heuermann or his wife, and they can also press charges on having those guns that were unregistered. How serious of an offense is that in Suffolk County? Obviously, murder is a bit higher on the totem pole. But is this anything that is going to make a dent in this case? Is this something it's good to have those charges there to keep him behind bars longer as this continues into the investigation, or should anything bizarre happen?
I mean, look, no. Remember, that really all came about because Asa was trying to get the guns because they were worth money. Yeah. So like this was a money play more than anything. At the end of the day, if you're Rex Heuermann, you're not worrying about the gun charges. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It's like those just like those pale, obviously, if he's getting convicted on any or all of the current murder charges he's done. So he's not like, if I'm representing him, I'm not worried about those charges. I'm like, hey, Rex, let's worry about the big guys. We'll worry about the gun stuff later. So to me, because of the civil, like the talk of the civil suit and, her trying to get the guns back so she could sell them to get money to survive. I think that was more the motive of law enforcement in the prosecutor's office to kind of come at him like this, just to kind of make that go away.
Should Asa be concerned about the possible gun charges, considering these were unregistered weapons? They weren't registered to him. They weren't registered to her. They were in their home together. There's been, speculation, of course, how much did she know? When did she know it? Was she involved in any of this? Obviously, no charges have ever been filed. She's sitting there at that house. But should they want to charge someone or to get her out of that home and into custody, could they not file charges against her as well, at least for the gun charges, considering they were in her possession?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Asa, I'm way more concerned about those affidavits.
Yeah.
That came out because, if they're able to substantiate any of that stuff in there, or it sounds like if they're able to verify that in fact was Heuermann's house that they were at and she's there, it becomes a much stickier story. Because if you remember old John Ray, his first press conference, he was just slamming her. Mm-hmm. Saying that he had proof that she was complicit, that she knew. And I think that these affidavits are that. Again, if I'm her, I'm not worried about the gun stuff. I'm worried about getting roped in on this other stuff, and again, it's like you have hair, like Rodney's sitting right next to John Ray when he's going through these affidavits, and you have to wonder, like, is it all interconnected? It's interesting, man. Yeah. It's interesting. I don't know. Like you said, it's we are living in a crazy world, and honestly, there's nothing off the table. There really isn't. Like, it's just just real life is always stranger than fiction, and it's like we see it over and over again. I mean, humans are messed up. we're a bizarre species, and we do a lot of really stupid things. So
that's why our dogs look at us all the time like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Want to listen ad-free? Want advanced access to all of our interviews before anyone else?
Become a True Crime Today Premium Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts.
You get every episode commercial free,
so you can binge on true crime
until you can binge no more.
Search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts now, or go to our podcast page and sign up now.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast next.